Hello and welcome to another discussion of Initiate's Trial. This is our second discussion of this book by Janny Wurts. It's the ninth book in the Wars of Light and Shadow series by the author. We've been working our way through this approximately 120 to 150 pages, depending on the font size of the book, every 2 weeks. Today's discussion is going to be chapters 4, 5, and 6 of this book. The next discussion will be the next 3 chapters. With me, I have, of course, the usual group of friends. Chris will join us a little bit later. Jared, could you introduce yourself?
I'm Jared. I'm the Fantasy Thinker on the YouTube channel, The Fantasy Thinker, and also on the Speculative Speculation podcast and other page chewing podcasts that you can find there.
And Dakar and Ilera are the greatest. Could you introduce yourself?
I am Chibi Po, longtime reader of this. I hang around and lurk very minimally on page chewing. I should do that more, but and I lurk around on Blue Sky and promote this series whenever I can. So
very nice. And with that, I guess we'll get right into chapter 4, which has Terence and Arathon on the run. And at some point, Arathon remembers 4 letters of his name. And that's it. And so he gets called Aaron from that point on.
Yep. Taryn and Aaron. There's a lot of little rhyming going on there. This chapter sees them on the run from him escaping from last time, right?
the tree
From
set,
from them. And I think he had a little bit of some visions during this run thing.
Yeah, he remembers his time with the what's the word I'm looking for? Trapper. Trapper in Peril's Gate, I think it was. When
right.
after that stand on the hill, I believe, is that after that stand on the hill with Sedlier? No, not Sedlier, Bragan, one of them.
No, it was earlier.
Okay, it was
when he
earlier.
first runs up into the mountains.
Got it. Okay, and the trapper helps him. And he apparently had a prophecy to live up to from his grandmother that he will die saving a prince, which is what happens. And Arathon talks about how the trapper's life is more significant than his own. And I think that's the memory he has now, and he decides that he's going to help Terence.
Yeah.
He won't let Terence die at any cost.
Yep, that's pretty much it there. And then we have Dakar kind of playing a part now of Sorcerer Dark Friend in chains. He
Yes.
stirs up a little trouble, gets himself caught.
Yeah, I like the line there about how he's a connoisseur of dark cells, the length and breadth of the 5 kingdoms.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you guys clarify something for me? I thought when they kicked him out, Sethvir and Asandir, they said, "You are a master now, you can leave." But it seems from his musings that he's no longer an apprentice even, so he's not actually an independent spellbinder. I was under the impression that he was promoted in some form. It's like you no longer need to be an apprentice. We've taught you everything, you can go now. As opposed to get out, we're angry with you. I don't care that we've only taught you some of what you need to know.
He's at least, and as far as what Asandir can teach him, he's now officially no longer an apprentice spellbinder, but a master spellbinder.
Okay, so then who Asandir apparently has put out word, or maybe it was Satvir, that Dakar is in disgrace with the Fellowship at this point. But he was also promoted to Master Spellbinder, so is Sethvir just like playing tricks to help him along on his way, or what's going on there?
Good question. Because it did seem like he angered the Fellowship in some manner, but I don't know if that's just on the surface or if there's something else in play here.
Hold on, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, the thing was locking up. It is a, and I think Sethvir remarks on it when talking to Asandir. It's a front.
Ploy. Okay.
Yeah, since they, per the demands from Celody, are constrained from taking any action on Erethan's behalf, or related to Rathan, they cast Dakar out.
Right.
So he's not bound by that restriction.
Right. And he's playing up this doctrine stuff in order to take some of the heat off Arathon. Correct?
In typical Dakar fashion, he doesn't quite get it. So he's just kind of doing his own thing, which works, but they were hoping he'd actually, fully realize what they were trying to.
I thought he knew, but chose not to go help Arathon for some reason.
Also, also that he's probably just because he probably he does figure it out a little bit, but
I mean, like he is,
because he doesn't grasp what they're, that they're not doing this, out of spite. He's spiting back at them. So
got it. Yeah. Okay. He didn't get the part where it's not for spite. That he's quite angry at them. I think he spent some time just like railing at them both outside. That tower, Altain tower, right?
Yep.
Dude, yeah. Yeah, and he by the end of that section, he let's see, he slipped into a trance again. And he it says just one aware mind on Athera took place. And I was kind of wondering, I don't know who that one mind is, who noticed this, who is aware of Dakar's latest trance, which seems to be
Sethvir would be an obvious guess, but I'm guessing if that were the answer, then it wouldn't be written in quite this semi-ominous fashion.
Right. That's what I was wondering, because Sethvir is always aware of stuff, but it's like,
well, he's aware, but he has to like focus on it. But
yeah, but you're right.
But yes, it does. He it does come up. It is Sethvir.
Okay.
Oh, it does come up later. Okay.
Yeah. It'll come up here in just a bit, but within these chapters, even because he has a little prophecy. But it did like how he, we see how he's changed in the time, and he's thoroughly pegged down what is the limits of his abilities, to where he's like, yeah, I can't wrangle with the Coriani.
Yeah.
So I'm going to blindside them the only way I know how. And then I'm going to make these guys all look like fools.
Yeah, it was fun. And he ended up at Halwithwood, right?
Halwithwood. Yeah, he went to the clans of Rathan. But yeah, he just, he's like, I'm going to make them look like fools, and I'm just going to walk right out.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll get there, but I love that he got captured. Like, he had all these wards set up, but then he didn't know to not snore. Okay. So Kingbreaker, the next section, which I'm
Yeah,
curious about the name. Like Asandir is Kingmaker, right? Because he's the one who crowns the next king. But why is this Kingbreaker?
it's a good question.
And there is a
He's choosing a new captain in this section, right?
yes, he's choosing a new captain of for Tyson, right? Um
Right.
oh he's doing Asandir's up to a lot in this chapter. First he goes and chooses a new captain for the like Meenal, is that her name? Like the first captain we meet in Curse of the Mist Wraith, her descendant from that line.
Yeah, Saganli, yeah.
Oh, right.
Um,
Yeah. Yep.
and then he goes to a descendant of Sulfanevant who's apparently in love with Lysair and says, well, you gotta track his movements constantly and never leave his side. Well, not exactly, but you basically need to do what Sulfanevant did for him several centuries ago, a few centuries ago. And
Yeah.
then he also, I forget if it was this section or the next, he also crowns the next king of Halvish, or is it a queen? But he crowns the next ruler of Halvish. Oh, and Dakar has a fainting prophecy where he gives the exact date of when the current queen is going to die of Halvish, and Asandi needs to act fast so that the um, I guess the Koreani won't take advantage of this information. And
Really?
I guess,
Oh,
yeah,
wow. I kind of forgot about that part.
Plus, the current treaty between the True Sect and Tizen and Havish expires upon the death of the current queen.
What treaty is that?
It's like a non-aggression, treaty treaty.
Okay. So did the crowning of the new
Peace
king?
treaty. There, I just said that.
Okay. Fair. Did the crowning of the new king make it so that was renewed, or
It is not renewed.
okay?
Basically, we're 250 some years ahead, and violence is it's time for violence to start again.
Okay.
Well, more violence.
That's fair. Okay.
And Tyson is where is that where Lysair is right now?
He's at Erdane, the
Yeah,
place where Arathon was almost crowned. Or like,
Ikara. Yeah,
yeah.
Oh, okay. That's right.
yeah.
Okay.
Lysair, from what we know, because they reference the Great Schism, left Tizen behind and has been spent all this time since
In
in
the
Itara
okay.
ruling.
In Itara.
Itara.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Itara. Everything. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. And then well, that I was excited about the introduction of Daliana,
Yes.
Sylvan's heir or not ancestor,
Mm.
precedent. Oh no, what do you
Descendant.
call it?
Descendant.
Descendant. Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah.
And I liked her fire. I liked her grasping hold of that responsibility to try to get to Lysair and take over that charge to try to be the person there for him. It didn't quite go right, I don't think, because at the end of chapter 6, she's like in chains or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And but I like how she gave it a try.
Mm-hmm.
She did get into his presence and had a good talk with him, and then it was after that things didn't go quite right. But yeah, that was a great introduction to this character, though.
Yeah. And apparently she looks like Talit. I think she's never named, but they circle and skirt around that so much about how she reminds him of this someone, and even when she's in Lysa's presence, it's she reminds him of his greatest regret and whatnot. But for all his realization about the fact that he was being manipulated by the curse, and it seems that he's enforced a sort of peace with the clans by uh cutting out this thing where they pay the headhunters for scalps and stuff. For all of that, he seems to still think that he was justified in how he treated Talit. um there was a there's something in there that made it seem like he doesn't believe himself wrong in that regard. But um yeah, anyway, like he's still very much uh like, I guess that's who he's still in love with 2 centuries
He,
later.
he Lysander has issues with women. Like let's be honest. Going
What other
all the way back to his
understatements do you
mom.
have?
Yeah, like all the way back to his mom.
He's had mommy issues, yeah.
But I did like the little tidbit, when Asendir, is visiting Atara, and you realize that for Asendir, this is like the first time in like 300 years that he set foot in Atara. He had not come back since the coronation went awry.
Yeah.
Asendir, really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't realize that, yeah.
So I like the little humanizing touch. He's like, yeah, this, nothing was like super pressing, and I dislike this place so much that I've avoided it. I had
Oh,
other
he
things to
actually
do, and I haven't come near here.
okay. I didn't realize he was actually avoiding it. I thought he just didn't have need to be here.
Well, it's probably a little bit of both. It's like, he's just incredibly happy that, well, I don't know, incredibly happy, but it's like, yeah, it's a little humanizing note to these guys who are, incalculably, ancient. And he's just like, yeah, no, I still really dislike this place, and it kind of has bad memories. So, I've been busy and glad I didn't have to come back here.
Wow, yeah. I mean, he was extremely busy. But yeah, that's interesting. But I'm wondering, back to Vasha's question, is why is it called King Breaker? I'm still trying to figure that out.
Hmm. Yeah, I didn't fully get that because I think he does. I don't think he crowns a king in this one. I think that comes in a later chapter. But like, that's the one with Ilera too, when she does something that she shouldn't during the crowning of the king. But yeah, I couldn't figure out the reason for the title.
And yeah, okay. Well, the like Daliana says, Lord Lysay, I can't stand the sight of me.
Yeah.
And that's been evident since the first day my mother presented me to his court. So Lysay has been presented with in a descendant of Sulfan Evan. I wonder if that's if Sulfan is also part of some of his regret that he might be thinking about or talking about, because we don't really know how that all ended up, other than they went away at the end of Storm Fortress. And so I wonder if
That's
we're going to get
true.
more about what happened between them, or did Sulfan end up spending the rest of his life with him, or did something else happen in between? I don't know. We're not sure what happened there. And how did Sulfan get a descendant? Did he get married? Did he, what was the
Yeah.
deal? A
God,
lot of
we need
questions
more
there.
Sulfin backstory.
We need more Sulfan
Yeah.
backstory. Yeah.
I mean, I think that that's fair that it could be about Salfinevin, the regret, but there's such heavy hinting that she looks like Talit. Even some of her descriptions, like her smoldering eyes and how like descriptions of her hair, everything resembles how Talit used to be described before. I
Yeah,
think a very large part of it has to be about being reminded of Talit, like because her mother was able to present her at court. That means the Evan family isn't in general disgrace with him.
right.
It's just that she evoked some negative emotions in him immediately after looking at her. Mm,
Yeah. No, even Ascendere told her that she reminds him of someone, and that as she chooses, she might press that advantage.
right.
So that's sneaky sorcerer.
Except currently it's a significant disadvantage because he wants to kick her out whenever he sees her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's very evocative of Talith in appearance and attitude, because as we remember, the um, culturally, like, women are a lot more um, have a lot more freedoms, in the Itara and whatnot than in the Westlands. So in Tizen and amongst the towns. So
Mm,
it's like one of those things where it's like we think all the towns are terrible, but and in a lot of ways they are, but they also aren't all like this monolithic culture.
mm.
True. Very true. Very true.
So,
Yeah.
sorry, I guess another thing in this chapter is that Asandi and Satvir are celebrating that um not Davian's dragon herd something. What did he hear? The Basically everything that's going on with Arathon, I think Sesh Kroshil has become aware of this, and and they're celebrating that maybe the dragon will intervene. Maybe.
She noticed the clearing of the flux lines.
The
Oh, is
clearing
that
of
what
the
it
flux
was?
line?
Yeah, after he uh, or while he's there at the outpost in Camarus to anoint the Caftian.
Oh,
Um,
that's right.
and then he leaves, and they go to clear the flux lines, to repair the, basically finally clearing up the last of the issues from Celody and her stunt back in Grand Conspiracy.
Wow, that took a long time.
Wait,
Yeah.
I thought that was because they had done something to what is it? The wraith from Marak to sort of break them up. They did something that murked up the whole planet somehow, and that's what he cleared. It wasn't that; it was what they were cleaning up from Celidi.
I believe so. Like they did collapse the Star Wards so that the race could come through and obviously set something else up to filter them to
Right.
Aerothan during his
To Eric.
captivity.
And
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But
I thought that that had a visible impact on the world, and that's what he went to clear up now with the flux lines. But maybe I'm
yeah,
wrong. Like that's how I read that, but it's possible that it's just cleaning up Celidy's thing.
it might be. They mentioned that it's been there for a while, and
Mm,
plus the one thing we know is that people's presence can affect the flux lines too. So with the shift of events in Tizen and how the true sect is running has probably prolonged the issue.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, the Star Wars also were cleared for what, a couple of centuries, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
that went down. That threatened everything. Uh, the stuff with Sulfan Evand and how Aerthin ended up where he was at the beginning of this, that all happens in approximately a 15-year period after Stormed Fortress ends. There's a bunch of stuff that happens there.
Okay, yeah, and I guess we find out.
Like, it'll come out.
Yeah, we find out some of it in these chapters. I guess we'll see if Chris comes before we discuss that, because I think there's a lot to piece together there. But yeah, I'm curious about this dragon, because we find out about its involvement in a different chapter too. Cool.
I had a question about the next part, the extrications, where Celody is now trying to rid the Waystone of the Ayat that that Arathon put in the Waystone way back when. And you know, it says in here that she's you know, putting those wrecked hands over the exposed facets of it, and she's eager to tally the damage inflicted by Arathon's assault on the Waystone. And I was just wondering, I'm like, why now? Why did it take so long for her to attempt this healing of the Waystone, or this, you know, trying to extricate those Ayats out of it? I was kind of curious. I didn't understand why she had to wait over 2 centuries to try to fix her Waystone.
It was when it was dropped in, the Ayat was the Waystone was active, so it basically gorged itself on all that power, the active power that was engaged, and
the Ayat did.
Yes, and she was only able to put the Waystone into stasis, but the Ayat was still trapped in there and still had all that power. So she had to take it, you know, at some point, you know, had it buried up in the ice and snow to drain off all that power and dissipate it, so that the Ayat didn't have any power. And then she had to time it just right to pluck the Ayat out as she engaged the stone, so that it, you know, would be starving, and it would jump to the nearest source of power before the stone went active.
Oh, okay, that makes sense now.
Otherwise, she would have been facing the same problem, you know, that she had when Aerthin dropped it in.
Couched in ice and wet silk.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. All right, that makes sense.
I like how she says the meddlesome Iyad that Arathon's malice had unleashed, as if she wasn't like being completely malicious when using the Waystone at him.
Oh no, you know, it's like,
you know,
I can do whatever I want, you know, it's not malice, but no, it's totally malice. It's like, no, it's not like you weren't actively screwing with him.
Yeah, when I do something, it's right. When others do it, it's malice.
Correct. I'm doing it for the future of mankind. That, I don't know, I'm not convinced anybody wants besides her. But anyway,
yeah.
But as we also see, you know, even though she's got that out, she's still got a problem ahead of her in trying to figure out, you know, how to recontrol the Waystone, because its frequencies and whatnot have changed due to the its material makeup getting the heat and everything, causing it to change, which that's got to be pretty crazy. You've got a big chunk of amethyst and it got hot enough that, you know, its material composition changed from amethyst to citrine. And
it's unclear whether all of the memories it had are still retained, right?
Yep. Plus, it was either with the Ayat or when Davian's fire spell. I think it was Ayat. You know, it also has a big crack running in it.
Yeah. Yes. Fun times for the Waystone ahead.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. It's like, maybe this isn't the safest thing to be using, especially, when you consider, that you've got a prophecy hanging over you about how, the waystone itself will play a part in your death.
Yeah, maybe just like ditch the waystone and everything will be okay for you. just
Yeah, you
stop
never know.
stop with the waystone.
Yeah, she's too greedy though.
Mhm.
It's a powerful object and she wants to use it. And she's never been known for her what's the word I'm looking for? Her, you know, calm and wise decisions when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then we also have Alara in this section too,
Yeah.
and
Uh, mhm.
yeah, she gets like some news from Ascendere
Right. Mm,
about staying away from the crowning of High King Jestri.
yeah, I think she was trying to do some scrying, and then Asandi is like, "Please don't do this right now because you are betrothed to a different crown prince, and you're gonna screw things up for yourself."
Yeah, the ties, between her and Erethan and drew her into what was going on with the crowning. So we saw more of what, happens with crowning, like the one we got interrupted. We got to
Hmm.
see that at last. And then um,
Right.
was it Asandir or was it Sethvir being like, yeah, I'm going to, oh,
There's
welcome.
Chris. There he is. All right. Well, it was Ascendere who was talking to her and told her to stay clear of Jestri's coronation.
Yeah, it's and she sort of encounters that right during her scrying. I forget what she's trying to do. I think she's trying to see whether it's safe for her to leave or.
Yeah. Well, she wants to get away
Hmm.
because she's a bit more open in her defiance now of
Yeah.
her leader's directives. So she wants some salt water, right,
Mm,
to try to thwart that connection, right? If I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
Yeah,
I,
because without the Waystone, um, she doesn't have the power to cast across salt water.
and did the clearing of the flux lines, was that what facilitated Celidy's ability to find Delera through her quartz crystal? Like something happened that made it so she could, or maybe she just got cocky after clearing out the waystone. It's like, yeah, now let's find Delera and bring her quartz to me.
Part of it, but Alaire had been staying in a particularly volatile area, which kept her from um, uh,
Right,
high
that just kept her
resonance,
out
kept her
from
from
the
being able to.
from the generic scryers that they have, right? The ones who keep lane watch. She's been trying to escape from that. But now, even though she is still in that high flux area, she was she was tracked by the Koreani enchantresses because of the quartz crystal.
Yeah, and then they tried to engage her, and
Hmm.
had
Mm.
enough of power that she's like, yeah, but she's also like, yeah, no, I ain't going nowhere. You can kiss my butt, my toe.
All right.
Okay.
Well, Chris, we wanted to get your opinion on the introduction of a new Evan, Daliana.
Yes, I was thinking about this quite a lot, as you can imagine, because it's obviously not my boy, but is it my girl, Daliana?
Is it? That's the question.
Uh,
Yeah.
I think we're early on. I think she's got the Evan stones, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
She has the bit where she has a competence and a level of understanding that challenges Lysair, which I think is obviously very good. I think if we went from the last book to this book to not having that, I think it would have been a gap. I think in that, because it felt like progress was made with Lysair. You know what I mean? And 200 years have passed, it's good to have somebody on his back. And it's funny that he's sort of knows that she's a challenge, but also is trying to exclude her still by the end of the 6th chapter here that we get to. It's like he's not dealing with it very well, which is quite fun. So yeah, she's more of a comic. She has more of a comic end to her at this stage because of who she is, and we know her legacy and the effect that it could have. But yeah, interesting indeed. I might have to get 2 t-shirts done, one in red and one in pink, or one in blue and one in pink, should I say?
You could be economical and just get one that says Evan and leave the first names out.
And go purple. Like, I mean, it could be done, but
Purple is a good color, except the Koreani use.
Coriani Crystal, I was thinking that.
It's one of my favorite colors, and now see, I even have a journal with that color. Now it's going to be associated with Koreani permanently.
Not only a Lysair apologizer, but a Saletti car.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
No, that journal just shouts Coriani. I don't know about that.
it's where I write evil things about Celody.
Oh,
Die, Celody, die. Anyway, what was I going to say about Evan and never mind. Yeah.
So Chris, just so you caught up, we were speculating about, how did Sulfin get this descendant?
Yeah, I never thought about that.
Who did he get married to or hook up with or whatever? How did she come about? So we're hoping to find that out someday.
Sampashir Immaculate Conception. There you go.
Yes. So what's next? Chapter 5.
Well, before we move on,
something else.
Lyrenda apparently is nameless now because of how long it's been. Everybody's forgotten who she was. She's just the nameless enchantress who was the Prime's hands. And I feel very bad for her, except I feel like if you're in her head for 2 seconds, she'll say something about how Arathon's responsible for everything that happened to her. That will make me immediately lose my sympathy.
Maybe. Yeah.
She is
not much with the self-awareness,
Yeah, it's no longer the hot mess because she's aged quite a fair bit. But I still do think, like, I think it's interesting how Celody is almost ignoring her now as well. She just sees her as a toy, and I think that's in my estimation that's dangerous to do, because Lyrenda is still extremely talented and powerful.
How
enchantress.
How much punishment does she deserve for what she did in Grand Conspiracy?
I mean, does she deserve punishment at all? All she did was annoy Celody or like not do anything.
No, but she does. She was kind of a villain in that. Well, what she did to Theonareth is a high crime, so yeah, she deserves punishment. Just who should be doling it out, right?
Not just Theonareth, but she did stuff that resulted in a bunch of people dying that didn't have to die.
Just the chase.
So
she did. She did a lot of horrible things that demand retribution from the rest of the world, but from Celody, she hasn't done anything to offend her to the point that she's
other than fail, right?
Yeah. Other than fail, but Celody's been very goddamn good at it herself. I mean, she's done a lot of the same stuff that Celody's done and failed in exactly the same way, and she's just basically been somebody to pick on and blame for an awful lot of it.
Right.
They're all bad.
They're all bad. There's one thing that I was curious about. Celody is apparently still, prime of her life, looking and young, but Lyrenda is starting to look old. They were about the same age, weren't they? Or had Lyrenda already been alive for a few centuries at the point in Curse of the Mistake?
not century. It's not yet a century. I think it was 80 to 90 years.
Okay. And Celadie was like, what,
Celadie
20
was
something?
very young. Yeah.
She was very
Okay.
young. Yeah.
Okay.
Moriel was 1,000 years old.
1,000, yeah, that's
Okay.
the number that's in my head.
Moriel ends up at something like, all told, like 1700 years.
Yeah.
Way past
Pretty old.
what Coriani stuff's supposed to keep them, which is why no one remembers Larinda, because anyone who was alive, otherwise, other than Celadie, as among the Coriani, has passed on. So
Yeah.
Kajia, or I think Kajia is the only other one we really had a name for.
Yeah.
That Cirrus in Peril's Gate.
And Alara, of course.
That's also interesting that very few people actually have the Coriani longevity, because apparently, like, it's only been 200 centuries. So if a lot of them were allowed to, artificially extend their lifespan, then many more would remember her, I think.
Yeah, I think it's limited to like the higher ranks. The higher rank, the more more life extension you get.
Got it. Okay, that makes. And
Yes.
Ilera was.
She was granted it, wasn't she, as part of
Okay.
Yeah, for a different
makes
reason.
sense.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Oh, since we're on the subject of Ilera, and we, I think we are at a point where we can start to piece together some of the things that we find out about what may have happened with Arathon and the betrayal of him. Starting with, I guess, something that we just know and don't have more information on. The last time Ilera was in trouble, the dragon intervened on her behalf and hurt a bunch of people. And she thinks now that the dragon might interfere again, because, like, will the Koryathain dare to cross the might of Seshgroshir? I'm never going to learn to say that dragon's name. Anyway.
But you keep trying, and that's admirable.
Yeah. So there's that. And then we find out that the Arathon was betrayed by the guy that Genza used to confide in, like, who hid from everybody that Genza has taken off, right? Like, she told him, I'm going. And that person eventually betrayed Arathon. And I don't think it was because of... I think it was events afterwards, right? It's not the events we followed in Storm Fortress and the book before that. It must have been other things that he used to betray Arathon somehow. And I guess, like, fair enough, the clans of Rathane have a lot of shame over that betrayal.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's everything we know at this point. Oh, and Arathon forgave the guy, which
That's very Arathon.
That's what he does. Yeah.
and it's nice. I think he's also expanding. He doesn't know quite where he got this from, but I think, like, his experience at Keyboard taught him that he needs to live and not just want to die if bad things happen. He needs to live to have the chance to move on and do better and heal, which is the reward he gave the guy who betrayed him. I forget what his name is, and also what he tells Terrence he wants to do for him.
He gave him a little speech there about that. He couldn't remember why, but I gave him a little speech that says, when hope dies, you breathe it back to life again, no matter how long it takes or what time is required to heal the wound. Disappointment will not last a lifetime unless you lie down and give in. So he gave that little speech to Terrence, and he tells him not to buy the lie of futility. And and he's not 100% why he feels that. I'm not sure why he feels that way or where that exactly comes from, but he kind of just knows it, on the inside.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess Keyword changed him on a subconscious level, and he's able to heal and help others heal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back
So-
in the subject of Alara, though, in the save, it wasn't just the dragon that saved her, wasn't it? It was the Sampashir got involved as well, I think.
Oh, they did?
Maybe.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because Salidi is all pissed because, as actually, I think it was more of a, I think is this one. They weren't overtly fearing, but it wasn't actually Seth Crochiel because she's over across, the ocean at the moment with Davian.
It was just a dragon. Just like we have a centaur war
It was
or
the
centaur.
impression that Seth Crochiel's attention was there.
I thought that brought up some questions and
But
possibilities.
remember,
for
who does Salida specify that Alara must not meet ever? Period. After she gets pissed off, she's like, "Yeah, she must never be allowed to meet with the Bidar."
Yeah, she did say that. Yeah.
Which brings in the question, I think, her lineage then.
Oh, you think so?
Interesting.
I think so. Yeah. That's sort of what it screamed to me at that time. Is that because again she was sort of like an orphan, wasn't she? Found in the streets. If going right back, we don't know what her lineage is or what her background was.
That's right. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
So that's sort of why I was going back to, because I think it does beg that that's at least a possibility. Which would be very cool, obviously.
Yeah, I like that. And so I'm trying to find the line where it said that the dragon intervened on Illyra's behalf at some point, like during the time Arathon was betrayed. Yeah, I'll try and find it, but
yeah.
So at the beginning of chapter 5, Terrans and Arathon try to sign up for the Soldiers of Light undercover, which is so like Arathon, even though he doesn't really realize that is so like him. He's just doing it kind of intuitively, and and I was just like, oh boy, here we go, and there's going to be some hijinks here or something. And there was. It didn't go very well. He ends up he ended up like getting strung up or something like that, and trying to make it so that he can get Terrans away and have all the blame put on him. Of course, that doesn't go that well either, as Terrans has too much of a conscience in order to just take off on him. And which at the beginning of the book I said, this guy is doomed. He's gonna get friends with Arathon.
Every companion that Arathon ever has as a stranger does not end well. No.
Yeah. And but they got away, right? I believe they got away. Yeah,
they did. But there was obviously the scene where Arathon tries to protect Terrans, and he outs
the important
his family secret. Yeah.
The important thing is that he uses the shadow magic,
and then use the shadow magic as well.
Yeah, and I love the description of that. A savage and soundless descent of black cold hurled him into a chill almost too intense for survival. I thought I was like, ooh, I shivered. And
that evokes the depths of space, doesn't it? Like I don't recall the description of darkness that like Arathon's shadow magic being quite so dire seeming before. I guess there was one instance when he used it and like it started snowing in the area where he used it or something, like it got that cold. But like this feels slightly different in quality, more intense. Um, like almost like the void of space to a certain extent. That
Plus, when he was way back in ships of Marior, when he was on the boat and Jarrett was trying to stop him, and Jarrett's like, if you go out there, he'll kill you. And Arathan, being all curse crazed at the point, was like, yeah, not if I freeze the flesh off his bones.
yeah,
With
yeah.
Binding Rod of Shadow.
Lovely fella.
I think I didn't quite realize this until this instant where he freezes the river briefly so they can cross. Cool story. But he just like eliminates heat from the area where the shadow is used. It's not just a manipulation of the light, it's actual changing of the physicality of the place, which is interesting and a lot more powerful than I originally thought. I mean, it makes sense because Lysa is able to burn people out with the heat of his light, but that makes sense, like with just light. But it's more than just shadow, I guess. It's also a cold darkness. But anyway, that's that.
Yeah, very cool. And of course,
elemental mastery channeled through shadow.
Yeah, and of course, when that happens, people sense it.
Yes.
That's kind of like a beacon. Seth Fair sensed it, and I'm sure the Coriathene as well.
And Sethvir has been sort of rooting for Arathon to realize his elemental mastery and his initiate mastery too, right? I think he was hoping for the initiate mastery more than the shadow mastery, but he got the other one first. But what did I want to say about this? Oh, yeah, I like the double deception there because when we see not the shadow bit, but before that, before they go on the run, when they sign up in the army, and he seemingly plays the fool to keep attention away from Terrence, maybe. But it turns out that actually he's just being really clumsy because he's been having all these flashes of his past life, like he's been recalling memories. And then what sets them off, I think, is when he gets thrown that knife thing that reminds him of the time he killed Keol.
Yes.
So I like that interweaving of the hijinks with the actual recollection of memories.
Yeah. No, that was pretty. That was very interesting. Yeah, very cool how she did that.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Moving on.
Then the car gets captured.
Of course he does, because he snored.
He snored. He had all these wards set up, and then he snores, and it gives him away.
That was a very funny line. It was.
Yes.
But they are pointing out to him, these clansmen, calling him a traitor, calling him bad things, saying that he bore the blame for Prince Arathon's captivity 249 years ago. Exactly. They say the exact amount of years. And they don't treat him very well. They have a lot of contempt for him. And he's he's of course yelling at them to revisit their history and trying to stick up for himself. So I felt kind of bad for him, gotta say.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say though, it's really cool to see Dakar competently doing his magic as opposed to stumbling and scrambling to figure out what to do next. So that bit was really nice when he went into that trance deliberately to figure out what to do. And then he calls on the Iats, not because that's the only thing he knows how to do properly, like he does in what was it, Ships of Merior. And instead, like, he's doing it with purpose. So
Yeah, that's true. Yep. Yep. And then, of course, as soon as Celody senses the shadow magic, she's like, "Oh, forget about Alara. Let's go after Arathon."
Yeah. There's a bigger prize.
Yeah. She's gonna fail again. I just know it.
Yeah, do you guys think oh, and I don't remember what chapter it happens. No, I guess we aren't there yet. We'll talk about it when we get there. But Arathon uses his magic to wake the thing that Asandi did with the
Yes.
trees and blend it together with some of his own style of magic. That was so cool. And you sort of knew it was coming, like when the way these people came out of the forest, like they weren't completely what's the word I'm looking for, they weren't in the state that they were in after Asandi had did his thing in whatever book that was. They were once they got out of that area, they were able to still speak and stuff. So it reminded me of that priest who refused to fight, Lysair's priest, who heard Arathon's music and he's like, "Nope, I'm I'm done. I don't believe this anymore." Uh, so it was a blend of both things, which was really cool. I love that. But Celodi's conclusion of that is, "Oh, I need the guy, but I'm not going to kill him now. I'm going to make him do whatever I want because I can see how what level of mastery he has. So I'm going to make him do my thing." Given we have 2 books left, do you think she's going to succeed? When we had 5 books left, it was like, yeah, there's still scope for Arathon to be captured, I guess. And we woke up in this book,
But
Arathon captured.
the last book is 1,000,000 pages, so you
That's
know.
true. Yeah.
Anything's possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
What a twist ended. That's great.
That,
Yeah. Yeah, and it was cool how they figured out who he was.
Yeah.
Once they
yeah.
ran into Arathon, and they noticed the marks on him, the seared lightning, the scored into a half twist from wrist to elbow and stuff, and those little details about his his appearance and stuff, and so they kind of figure out who he is. And once again, he does some drugs to help him get in touch with stuff. They tell him his real name. They give his whole full name and stuff, and that kind of awakens some stuff in him, and a little drugs helps him out.
Weed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the echoes of some scenes from Curse of the Mistwraith, except Arathon is willing and more I don't say competent, like he's even more what is the word? An expert, I guess, in the use of his magic. So I love the echoes, but different, the slight differences that we see in how he uses all of his magic and how he thinks about, like, he's reminded, for instance, of like when he watches the children playing of the time at Talcorin when he was trying to protect them and figuring out what to do there, and the sort of I guess the negativity that he had then versus the can-do attitude here, and the mechanism he comes up with to help versus what he had to conclude there. I guess because of the Mistwraith's influence. I think that's really cool to see the differences between the two things.
Yeah, that's true. You really see his experience and wisdom coming through. And something that you would assume that a long life would impart on an individual. And when somebody who's been through such traumatic episodes as Arathon has, your viewpoint on things is tempered quite a bit to approach things differently than you would as a hot-headed young individual pirate from another world, So,
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. um, yeah, and we also get Lysair Daliana exchanges where
Mhm.
yeah,
Lysair is now Lord Mayor. I thought that
he's
was
the mayor.
funny.
Yeah,
Bec- because it's a Lord of Light and the Avatar of Light and so on and so forth, and now he's
Well, he's
Lord
been on
Mayor.
fire since Grand Conspiracy.
Right, but that's not all he was. That wasn't the way people referred to
Yeah,
him
appointed
then.
for life.
Yes. It's
that's
been
a pretty long time for him.
yeah. They need to have some elections here.
It's not a democracy at all.
No, not at all.
Even in
Uh,
Arthur's point of view, like he hasn't been seen for 200 years, but there's a lore master that is passed down who he is and how you identify him
Mm,
and all of that kind of stuff. Like,
right. Yeah.
that whole thing's very well put together, I think, because in reality, like, who the hell would remember Arthur?
Yeah.
I think we know by name just about everybody that remembers him, if that makes sense, outside of maybe the Saint-Pasteur or whatever.
mm,
Yeah.
It's still
And
shrouded.
hark back to 250 years ago when just the sight of someone who looked like him would
That's
have
true.
been enough to set everyone off. Now he's roaming free, and even the clans only barely recognize him and only figure out who he is because he speaks Paravian and
right.
says
Yeah.
some things that they
That's right.
recognize.
Yeah. Also, to that end, doesn't Celadie work out well while she praises Arathon for his ingenuity in what he does? She sort of works something out of herself that we don't know. It's sort of
I
that's
thought that was
interesting.
the thing where she's like, oh, I'm going to capture him again and use him to my own ends, like use all the skill he has, or does she
Yeah, but it
have a
was more
different
about the way
realization?
to me anyway, the way that he used the magic gave her a fresh idea,
Oh,
about
yeah.
actually how to
Right.
do it.
Yeah, exactly. She wants to use his magic to get something else from the fellowship, I
Yeah.
guess.
Or even the idea of using pre-existing magic or something that was already set up by somebody else as a way to capture him,
Mm,
piggyback on something else. Yeah.
yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, I don't want to find out how she uses it. I think it was that news item to which I wrote this woman can walk herself all the way off the end of the cliff. But
Well, it did cross my mind as to what a pre-existing traps, wards do we know about on Athera
hmm,
that she could then use? Because it feels very Janny that she would have set this up like 6 books ago and then go, oh yeah, that thing.
yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, like it has to be something like he was able to pull on Asandir's previous work with the trees, which we
Yeah.
knew wouldn't wear off for several decades or centuries,
Mm.
and so maybe something was set up before that he would then interweave his magic with. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
Gotta see how
I
that
wonder
works.
if it's something about Rockfell. That's about the only thing that I could really
Oh,
think of. But then I thought, does Saletti know? But I suppose she could do through the Waystone. She's
mm,
kind of got that power to see. I was trying to think of
yeah.
what other kind of grand conjuring was kind of there in the world. But yeah.
Pearl's Gate.
What in Peril's Kid?
Before, what does Aerithon do before going to Kiwar?
And then
Was
the
that when
burn.
he helps someone reset the flux lines, or was that a different book?
That is the one where he retunes the lanes
Yes.
and
Right,
actively manipulates the flux of the world.
right.
That
That was in Peril's Kid before
with
he goes.
Yeah.
music. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He does that.
Mm.
But yeah, like that's the whole world, and he was basically sort of dispersing the big spike that was supposed to come at solstice, right?
Right.
So
Wow.
I mean, yeah, like given that he could do pretty much anything,
Yeah,
but if there's some previous setup that I mean, I guess it could be previous setup in terms of showing us his abilities and then bringing together a grand confluence of everything, not for not for
Well,
her
well,
use.
consider, Celody accomplished her big thing because the Fellowship was distracted and Grand Conspiracy, but she had to do a whole bunch of setup and use a proxy and whatnot. So she couldn't actually do it directly. She had to do it, stuff that would make it, happen. Versus, oh, Arathon's handled this directly. If I can find out how he did it, then I don't need to do proxies,
Oh,
which
right.
allows her to directly, yeah, it could be bad.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
Cool.
Arathon gets to talk to a centaur again,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
and
What is it? It's the centaur of the forest.
I forget
Oh yeah.
why.
No, it was the centaur, but not the same centaur that he met in Keyboard or yeah.
Oh yeah.
In the
Yeah.
gates.
I like
Yeah.
I like the centaur says that guy was my friend. He sent me that one
Yeah.
you talked to before.
Yeah. This one once stood as guardian for Caithwood. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he told Arathon, "It is not meet to retread what is finished." So he was kind of admonishing him about something.
Yep. Yeah, what was that?
I don't remember exactly what it was, but I have a feeling that it has something to do with his memory, and
That's true.
and the centaur didn't want to go over that stuff.
Yeah, makes sense.
And it was the drugs that helped him see that stuff. But
Yeah.
but he also, when he was doing the trances and stuff, he also sensed the magic of Celody, and he could taste the malice behind her intent, bitter as metallic poison.
That's right. Yeah.
And I love that line.
Yeah.
But so he's like aware that this stuff is going on.
Yeah.
And the clans are trying to get him away now because they want to keep him safe.
Yeah. They want to keep him safe, but they're also like now terrified for their lives because oh no, this guy showed up, now we'll be pursued forever.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like the really cool way that he handles this. It's not a battle. And I'm looking forward to I guess at this point Arathon will never decide to stand and fight. He will always come up with alternative means, like with Stormed Fortress and this. So I'm curious to see, and this was a little bit of an escalation of what he did in Storm Fortress, or actually he needed Alethea for that, but he did something almost by himself here. So I'm very eager to see the sort of escalation of power there and see how he sort of disperses the warmongering nature of everybody around him.
Yeah, it'd be cool if he's able to, because he's able to use the trees differently, the Caithwood trees and what have you. And I want to see more what happens there. I really like how he keeps coming up with different ways to deal with things in a unique manner, and I'm definitely hoping that continues.
Yep. What was I going to say? Yes, Alethea. We haven't seen it yet, and we know.
Yes,
this
I was
arc
thinking
is
about that.
called Sword of the Canon. Do you think Alethea has been stolen by the light people, and that's their thing somehow?
But it's not just Alethea, though. It's also the Larenth as well. The two.
That's true. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Two of them are.
What What's going on?
Wait, what
Right.
the Liran that he got from the Koreani, was that his own, do you think, or just one they had handy to?
I thought it was just one that
Okay, it wasn't his own.
he had
Okay.
to hand, but it could have been like, because again that was the Saint-Pachier sort of getting involved. Not anything sort of possible. It could be again a vision of
That's
Mm.
fair.
who knows.
And at this point, does sorry, Chief, but just 1 second. The Celody, does she know that Arathon's daughter, that she was off the Sun Bashir? She doesn't know that yet, right?
She does. That came up when the confrontation with Asandir.
Okay, got it. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Chibipa.
I was going to say the question of the Lyranth, the Master Bard's Lyranth, and Alithio should come up fairly shortly.
Okay,
but I'm not going to tell you.
no, that's
So,
good. That's
come
good
up shortly.
because again, a lot of these things, because we're a long way into the books now, you sort of think about all of those little things, you know, as being, because they're all very important in
Oh yeah.
part of the grand scheme. So when something or someone isn't there, and it could be, it's never just Janny going, "Oh, I forgot about that." You know, there's a very specific plan, or there's something about it going to be used or come up at some stage
Well,
soon. You know?
I'll give you this much. Consider way back in Curse of the Mistwraith when they were at they met Mionel, and Lysaea received Daltiri, the Tizen's, the sword of the Solicid, and they remarked, or Mionel, the boy, younger, her grandson, explained that when the crowns fell, the different clans took the royal regalia, a piece of it, and squirreled it away. So that could be important. Things that go all the way back, all the time.
Wow. How did you remember that?
I remember lots of things.
Oh.
I remember less about this one, which is also kind of why I'm quiet sometimes.
Yeah.
But
wow.
I remember lots of, because these are more recent. But
yeah, that's outstanding.
I sort of imagine, Chibi, that you have, like, one of those walls where there's like a big, like, pieces of string, right? Joining things. You just have like a whole thing with the Wars, Light and Shadow and Ethera and map and people and all that kind of stuff. Just theories and whatever else.
Maybe not a physical one, but yeah. It's in my head like that probably. I'm like,
yeah,
this is here and that is there, and yeah.
All right. I have a question now. What when Dakar is talking to the clansmen, and of course they're still blaming them for giving up Arathon, and of course he says, his grace forbade me to die, what have you. He says something about quoting some kind of prince from history, and it said, grief suffered in childhood broke the man's spirit. If Eriagal dies.
Oh yes.
And I'm like, I was trying to remember who was Eriagal.
Yeah, I think so. I think that was Arathon who you quoted, and Erigal was Jensa's best friend. Sort of. He was one of the companions. I think the youngest of them, and he betrayed them. Apparently, like that's what we know from the chapters
He's
we read.
the betrayer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
that's why he's talking about a prince's pardon for my forefathers.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there is in the glossary a bit of a write-up about who Eriagal is as well.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Oh, there goes Chris bringing up the glossary again.
And he we met him in the previous books. Genza, he was Genza's confidant, I guess. But
right. Okay, I got it now. Good. And so we got this new clan chieftain here,
Yeah, Kosha or
Kosach.
Kosachi, yeah.
Yeah.
He's Mr. Chevalier of previous Chevalier Stephen and Jarrett and Jensa fame.
Cossack.
There goes Chris showing off his glossary pronunciation.
No, I totally made those up. As I've said to you before, I should just say them confidently, and people will think.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Almost certainly wrong.
He's
Right.
definitely not playing the nice guy to start off with, but
No.
we'll see. We'll see how things go.
But yeah, you say that, Jared, but he does walk in completely butt naked into into see Dakar. I mean, he is kind of not messing about, but also that might make an interesting scene in the TV series or the movie version of it. You know, this guy who we haven't been introduced before, stark naked. And I asked her sort of nipping at his beard and his hair, and yeah, he's like, oh.
I'm thinking of like Stoic the Vast in his in the description, like in How to Train Your Dragon, for those who don't just know the character. Stoic the Vast. That's what I'm thinking. But what was I saying? Oh, apparently the clan, their abilities have concentrated and intensified because of the reduction in their numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. I thought they were dying out, but apparently they are getting their thing back.
Yes, amazing how 250 years without being hunted, every day, you start to bounce back.
Yeah, and apparently they're starting to build permanent residences now because Lysair has made sure they don't get hunted easily. So that's nice. It's almost like they're able to get back to how it was while the Paravians were around.
Yeah, but of course, we have people now trying to thwart that again. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. And of course, the religion of the light is being manipulated by Celidee for her own means. And I guess that's where we sort of end her evil plan to use a fetch to invoke the curse again on Lysair, being thwarted by Daliana, good old Daliana.
So what exactly happened there? She had a vision, and
I think they were exchanging something. There was a courier who brought something for the people of light, who the embassy of light planted outside Itara, and she saw one that it was a Koreani enchantress disguised as a soldier of the light, or whatever they are called. And the packet that they exchanged, it was warded so closely that she could see nothing into it, and she was terrified of what it might hold, and she needed to find out what was in it. So she plotted to figure it out, and it had some hair, Arathon's hair, which we know from a previous news item they were going to use. So I think they triggered Arathon's curse before, right, by using Lysair's hair in a previous book. So they're trying to do the opposite now, evoke Lysair's curse by showing him Arathon's hair.
Right.
Yeah, they did that to Lysair back in Fugitive Prince.
Mm.
And so is she the one that sliced their palm that destroyed the thing by contamination? Okay.
I think so. If she didn't do it directly, she did something to result in that.
Right. Yeah, because I like the vision she had, like the snow sprawl with masses of battlefield dead, with a trampled ground, wore pink stains of carnage. That was like the vision she was having, and like you said, she saw the courier and thwarted her, but then she was taken into custody. So
and
we'll see what happens there.
He can use this opportunity to get rid of her, or he can decide he needs her next to him so that the curse doesn't break free.
Right. we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we end up with the Mad Prophet pleading for a horse to go north.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. What was it for?
He had a vision.
Save.
Oh, okay.
The Apprecian vision just ripped my guts. That's what he says.
Hmm.
He needs to get there quick, smart to save something terrible happening.
Something
Okay.
about Lysair. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Irreversible
Oh, that's
vile
right. That's right.
entanglement. So
Mm,
that is, I imagine, we'll be getting into when
In
we
our
next.
begin
next section.
reading again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna read a chapter today. Hopefully.
What?
Look at that!
I'm.
Wow.
Haven't you heard
Unbelievable.
the new and
The
improved?
new Vasha reads ahead.
I mean,
I'm trying. I'm
Chris,
tired
life
of
will
staying
never
up
be
till
the
4
same
a.m.
again.
this can only mean bad. These are bad portents for future. Scary.
All right. I won't pull you into more read-alongs.
I mean, that's just not true.
Yeah. The evil starting already.
I'm like Celody. I just never know when to let up.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you have a better success rate than Celody, so you know.
That's true.
True. Very true. Yeah.
And less evil motivations. Far less
Indeed.
evil. Cool. Did we go over everything? I feel like we did. Was there anything we missed? Or
I think we did okay.
Yeah,
okay,
good job.
cool. All right, then we will see everybody in 2 weeks from now with the next 3 chapters. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.